Hi everyone, it's Tella. I really hope you enjoyed our first video about protecting Black women. I'm thankful that you guys are able to come to our channel. Today though, we're going to be talking about trauma, and specifically intergenerational trauma that's passed on through the womb from the moms onto their daughters. So today I have my mom.
Hello.
Her name is Nadine Smith, and she'll be talking about her trauma and pretty much how she made it through, and then even some of the trauma that probably has been passed on to me, and be able to have a real dialogue about that. So, with getting started, we're going to be talking about intergenerational trauma and what that actually means. So, when we speak about that, we're going to be talking about the womb. So, it's really interesting. I had took this class for my job, and the lady was talking about how when a woman goes through things, not only does her daughter go through it, but the granddaughter, because when you're born with all of your eggs. So when my mom was in her mom's stomach, so was I. So everything that was happening to my grandma was happening to not only her, but also to me. And then so on and so forth. And that trauma gets transferred. Granted, it can get transferred onto boys too, but more or less, we're talking about like how it can transfer even without you noticing, and being able to break down those barriers. With that being said, my mom has a really deep story about like her life and how she got to where she is right now. So I'm gonna have her be able to share that, and us be able to have a dialogue about it, and be able to feel free to put your comments below if you have any questions. All right. So, Mom, when I speak about generational trauma or intergenerational trauma, what comes to your mind when you hear that?
When I think about that, I think it's like between a mother and a child.
Mm-hmm.
Think about that. Generations passed down.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So, in your life specifically, what's some things that you feel like may have been passed down to you from your mom?
I know I got passed down when I had both my kids, cesareans. I had cesareans with both of you guys, and she had, I think she had like 2 cesareans.
And can you break down what cesareans are?
Cesareans are when you have a baby. You don't go full term, you'll go and have a C-section, and the baby is cut out of your stomach. So I had both, for both of you guys I had. But in my life, when I heard about C-sections, they were more traumatic to me because my brother, I have one older brother, and then it was me, and then a brother underneath me. And then my youngest brother, he was a cesarean, was a C-section, and that's the day that he came home and Mom didn't. So that was very traumatic for me at the age of 6. Memory kind of was lost from the age of 6 until almost the age of like 11. And that another part of my father was murdered when I was 11. So, and I seen him on the ground dead. So there was some lot of traumatic, there's parts that I do not remember from the age of 6 to 12. We were more or less down in Oklahoma, and my grandparents took us at the age of, well, at my age of about 11, took all 4 of us and raised us. But I do not remember going from that part of seeing my dad getting wheeled out of the house in a cop car. I don't remember anything from that point until we stepped up here in Minnesota. Mm-hmm. So I don't remember anything in regards to bits and pieces. People would tell me this is what happened. Like, I don't remember that. Mm-hmm. Don't you remember family court? I'm like, I don't remember that. So I didn't remember a lot. Mm-hmm. So.
And then what kind of happened after like losing both parents at such an early age?
Deep depression. Very deep depression. Even at the age of 12. Felt unwanted. I knew that my brothers had themselves. And I just had me. I longed for friends. I longed for friends, and prayed for them. Didn't come till happened to bump into somebody when I got in trouble at school. And it's been a long life friend ever since then. A couple girlfriends that I've been knowing since like for like 30, 40 years.
And then roll on into, having DJ and me. Well, how did that happen?
How that happened? I met your dad at a friend's house, and we had a great relationship. That part of me, having the kids, was a hard thing because I didn't have any guidance when I was younger. I kind of was the bad sheep of my family. As a teenager, I was kind of out there. I ran the streets a little bit, but my grandparents had a very Christian home, and every week I was grounded. So a need for love was very strong for me. So I met your father. Had 2 beautiful kids, but we had our struggles also. Drug use, a lot of fighting, and I didn't like that. So I kind of had to separate myself from that. And that still, hurts, and that was only been 10 years ago, but it still hurts. But I had to make a change because I didn't want to hurt him, myself, and because I already knew I was hurting myself. I knew I was hurting myself, but I didn't want to. I got to a point where I got sick and tired of arguing and fighting, and I got sick and tired of it. And I said, if I don't make a change, one of us is going to die, or one of us is going to go to jail. So it's always been pretty hard, but I had to keep going, because if I didn't, I wanted to keep going for myself and my kids, but I knew I had to keep going for myself because I knew I was a strong and weak woman at some point. But if I didn't make a change, I was going to keep being in the same circle, and I didn't want that. And that was the hardest thing I had to do, but I knew I had to do it. And I still love your father, but I make a change. With him, I wouldn't have moved on. But even with moving on, you gotta kind of realize that everybody ain't all that. And I made some bad choices in relationships over time, almost to the point of allowing myself in a relationship to almost die in my own house. By myself. Luckily, I had 911 to call because once they got to my apartment in 2012, I was literally half dead by somebody that tried to beat me to death because I decided that I didn't want to argue with him anymore. So when you, I can't speak, but when you allow certain situations to be a part of your world, there's things that you can see, but you don't act on them. And I knew the night that the man almost killed me, I knew something was going to happen. But I didn't act on it. I knew it, and I told him. I said, something's going to happen to me. And sitting there right in his face, ain't nothing going to happen to you. And then 4 hours later, I'm in the hospital. And the nurse is telling me, and I said, it's my fault. And she's like, no. She's like, ma'am, it's not your fault. No, it is my fault. I kept being around somebody. I knew that it wasn't working. So that was a lot of trauma. I had a lot of trauma in my life where there's some nights that um, you that loneliness will creep up. That loneliness creeps up here and there. Um, I can be I'm very spiritual, but I can say this that something keeps me going. Um, something within that keeps me going. I can look at my kids. I can look at my grandson, but when they're gone, I still got to deal with what's within me, and I keep myself with good people around me. With don't put, you know, don't drink too much. Don't do too much of anything. Not eat too much. Not sleep too much. Not do too much of anything, because anything can allow it to hinder you. Mm-hmm. So, I had a very traumatic life, but I don't want to dwell. I don't try to dwell on it, but I know it's a part of my world, and I'm not afraid to talk about it. But it does bring tears to my eyes because just to get through it, on a day-by-day basis. Mm-hmm. And I get emotional. I do get emotional. I truly get emotional. Mm-hmm. I truly get emotional. But your mom's story is a deep one. Mm-hmm. I would say that when you go through challenges and relationships, friendships, do a journal for yourself. Sometimes I look back on my things I wrote years ago, trying to change, and it was hard. And I read what I wrote, and I say, was that me? Well, that was really me. And I said, wow, look how I've changed a little bit. I don't do that no more. I don't deal in that cycle again. But I wrote it down. I also even have I have a little diary, and I also write my journey, because everybody has their own journey that they're gonna go through. But I write it down. Just it's a healing process for me. And then when I found out my kids were, making books and doing things, I said, wow, a part of me went in there where I would write, but I never wrote for anybody to see. I wrote it for me, and maybe hopefully one day what I did write will help somebody in the future. Mm-hmm. But I like to write, just to get my feelings out on paper, and then I reread it. I'm like, oh, okay. Now what's the steps we need to take to move forward? And that one little step can make a big difference.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So, I mean, you said a lot.
I'm sorry.
No, it's good. No, this is good. I mean, I've heard this story, several times, but it's always good to hear. One, because of, seeing how far you came, so that we know as we go forward, that there literally should be nothing that can stop us, from going forward. But also because then, I'm able to look at my life and see about what things that I might have picked up from you through either the womb, but even things that grandma probably went through, mm-hmm. And then also things that I probably picked up from you, good and bad, yeah. As I got older. So before I start to touch on me, I want just from everything that you said, mm-hmm. what are some things that you feel like you picked up from your mom, good or bad, and what are some things that you feel like you might have transferred on to me, good or bad? And then what I mean too is some in intergenerational trauma, A lot of times when we get these things that are part of us, but we don't know where they come from, sometimes that could be that. So, like, for example, anxiety. I noticed that I have anxiety. And I was like, I know that didn't just come out of the blue.
It came from me.
I know. I know. But it took me a long time to be okay with the fact that I do have that. And I'll touch on that in a little bit. But, like, what are some things that you picked up from your mom? And what are some things that you transferred onto me?
When you say picked up from your mom, there's, I can't remember. I can't remember. There was a blockage. It's something that was broken when the baby came home and she didn't. Mm-hmm. I can't remember. I really can't. Mm-hmm. And I think that's the reason why when you asked me about talking, I pushed it back because I was like, I have to open that door. I can't remember. Mm-hmm. I really can't remember. The only thing I can remember, I see pictures. Only thing I can remember is going to seeing her in the casket. Mm-hmm. And I don't remember before or after. You know how you can remember somebody's smell or how they sound? People say I sound like her. I can't hear her voice at all. So I apologize that I can't say what may have transferred, but I know by the stories of my aunts and uncles and my grandma, she was a very strong woman. She kept her family together. My dad, he wasn't not all that. He had, abused her, had some abusing, and she stayed. And I was a preemie. I was 2 pounds 2 ounces. I heard I just came right out when I was a baby. But they said I just hear it from bits and pieces. I never ever witnessed anything like that. I've heard that that's what my aunt said. He beat your mom here and there and stuff like that. So, and I just heard it, never seen it. But there's nothing I can help with in regards to something passing down because I don't remember.
I mean, but I feel like you kind of answered it, though. Like, the two things that really stood out. Mm-hmm. First one is the strong piece. I feel like that, like, a lot of the traits can be transferred without you even having any, like, correlation. Like, there is the piece of you that's transferred through the womb, and then there's a piece of you that is taught to you by that person. So, like, you didn't really get to meet her, or, like, you met her, but you didn't really get to witness her the way that you wanted to.
The interaction was, and there probably was interactions. I just don't remember them because of the trauma.
Right.
Because of the trauma that has blocked it over years. Mm-hmm. So I can't remember. I try. Mm-hmm. I remember going by my grandma. I went and tried to Google where we used to live. I couldn't find it, but I went to my grandma's old house because they had pictures of, some pictures at grandma's old house, and I was trying to remember, could not remember. So I would like to have that one day to try to remember some of that.
Yeah. But I mean, like you said, like, there's pieces of her that are in you. So, like, the strength piece, when they talk about how strong she was, like, you have taken on that piece. But then
she was very spiritual, very spiritual. She always more or less kept her children in church. At least started them out there. They choose once they got older to move on, then move on. But she always had them, as my grandma would tell me, she always kept you guys, just keeping a faith base inside you. Just keep you strong when there's no one else around. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And that was a good thing. I'm glad she did. Mm-hmm. Both of my parents.
So you got to pick up those two good traits, and then even, and I don't know if you've ever thought about this too, but probably on more of the negative side is the fact that domestic violence.
Yeah.
You know, the fact that that's also a transfer. That like, you know, it doesn't make it seem like it's okay, but
Like,
it's a part of you that was like, in some aspect, I've been here before, because your body has developed that trauma or developed a reaction to that trauma because she's already been through it. So your body already developed a response, and to some degree has said that when you were in those relationships that brought domestic violence, that this is wrong, but it's okay.
Yeah.
'Cause you chose to
I
stay.
more or less try to justify it, saying that it's okay to feel this way. Even though I did not. I was lying to myself. I was literally lying. It's like, this is not okay. This is, but I just trying to justify it with putting other things in there, not putting people in there, just putting other things in my mind just to justify it. Like, it won't happen again, and we're gonna try it this way or something. Just I made myself to believe and justify it in some way to stay.
And then what's some things that you feel like you transferred onto me, good or bad?
You have a good humor about yourself. You're bubbly, but you're moody, very moody, like very moody. You do have anxiety. Some probably get that from me, anxiety. You're a hard worker. You don't mind not having appreciation. I'll do the job. But there's some you can be cold at times, even with a smile on your face. You can probably be cold at times. You don't mind. I like being accepted, but I don't mind if I'm not. I had to learn to be okay with rejection, and that took time. I don't know what else.
Okay, let me see. So,
what else do you think you may have picked up from me?
Definitely the anxiety. I learned that I had anxiety like 2 years ago. I was like,
I think you had anxiety a long time ago.
No, I know. I learned that I had anxiety 2 years ago, but then it made sense because I was like, I was trying to figure out where this came from. I was like, I used to think that what you was doing, like you would be like, I worry a lot, and as I got older and learned more about anxiety, I was like, that wasn't worrying, that was anxiety. Like you had, like when we would leave and go places, you would like blow our phones up, and I'd be like, why are you doing that? And because you have anxiety. So now when I have Jacob, I'll be like, oh, like those things come back to my mind where like I instantly think something bad is gonna happen the moment you leave the house, and you used to do that to me. So that's one. Depression. I used to kind of watch you kind of go through those cycles where you'd be like,
I'm good for a little bit. I'm good for a while, and then you'll see like mom just laying in the bed. I'll be cool, but I wasn't cool. I just wanted to rest. I would put the word tired and rest, but I was really depressed. Really.
Yeah. And so like I've noticed that I do that too. Where like I would say like I'm just trying to get some rest, but then like just my mind is still going, because a lot of times when you would be resting, you wouldn't be asleep.
No. My mind would just be racing at the time.
And then even more of a when I think about Jacob, the fact that you both were premature around the same weight, and that was I think that's something I probably picked up from grandma, which is interesting because me and BJ were full time, right?
No.
Yeah.
No, you were close to full time, and I think even when you both were born, the first person I seen, I had went under. I was taken under, and my grandma was sitting right there, making sure I was woke up. I did the same thing to you.
I know.
I'm like, please wake up, because that trauma, even with my grandmother, seeing her daughter, after having a baby, be gone, and that's what she thought me too. Because if you look at a picture of me and my mom, we're almost like twins, just like me and you.
Yes, and we talked about this before, but the fear of not wanting to have more than 2 kids is something I've picked up from you too.
You just need a boy and a girl. That's all.
I know, but it's a legitimate fear that comes.
That's all you need is a boy and a girl. You can see both sides of the world. A boy and a girl. That's it.
But I feel like if it didn't happen like that, I feel like you would have had more kids.
No, that's a lot of people in the world.
Anyways, I picked that up from you, and
I didn't want to have more than I didn't even want to go to 4. I just wanted to have 1, 2, and that was it. And I didn't want to have more. So yeah, I probably did have that fear.
Right. Because the fear of childbirth is, the thought that something bad could happen.
And then even when they told me both times that I had to have a cesarean, and I'm praying, I said I didn't want to die. Mm-hmm. I wanted to be here for my kids.
Mm-hmm. Another one that I don't talk about often, domestic violence is definitely something that has been transferred from kind of throughout the line of us. Mm-hmm. And that'll be something that I'll touch on another time, because I want this to be more about us. But definitely that has transferred on. But then, like, the good things, I feel like more or less you and Jacob are the same person, so that's kind of annoying. But our bubbly personalities. I now dance at Jacob's parties. That was triggering when I realized that I did that, because you used to dance at all my birthday parties.
Always get my groove on.
I know, but I would be embarrassed, and now I'm dancing at, like, how upsetting that is.
You're always gonna remember it. Go ahead.
Anyways, then also, we have similar personalities. Like when I'm with like DeRay, for example, she'd be like, "Ugh, you act like your mom," and I'll be like, "Ew," But now I take it as a compliment.
Yes, it is. It should always be.
I did not used to take it as a compliment. But there's we have a lot of similarities. But like you said, like the hard worker. I've never not seen you work.
Right.
And so, but I also think that that's two-sided too, because sometimes we don't know how to stop.
Right. And then I hope, and I think you have it too. Both of y'all have, and both of my kids. You got to give yourself time for change, because sometimes when you try to rush it, you fall. Mm-hmm. And if you're okay, and you got to learn how to fall. When you fall, do you know how to get back up? Because some people don't know how to get back up. I'm a firm believer on falling. Fall. Go ahead, fall. And then and try to pick yourself up one baby step at a time. Mm-hmm. And it's hard. Listen, it ain't easy. Mm-hmm. It ain't gonna never be easy. But then you have to make some changes within yourself, especially your mind, because just like you said, intergenerational. Mm-hmm. And I think it's embedded in, you said, in the womb, but it comes within your mind, and even how my actions are. They have trickled on down to you.
Mm-hmm. But I think, as we kind of wrap up, I think that was one of the biggest, one of the biggest helpful things for me was the aspect of, failing. Because I think when I was 16 is when you left my dad, and you guys split, and then I was able to kind of see you kind of be like a single mom for a little bit, and watch you kind of really be able to see you go through these hardships. Because I think when we were in the house with Dad and BJ, I didn't really get to see you like that until we actually moved out. So being able to see you in that light, and then now me going through my own struggles, mm-hmm. and being able to do that actually was helpful, because it was now I'm okay, in my mind I'm I don't want to leave a relationship, but I know if it's unhealthy, I've been able to watch you be able to kind of bounce back, and then not only bounce back, but get to a place where you've always, even though you still are getting to a place where you really, really want to be, but you got to a place where you feel better, you are not, you're at peace, and being able to kind of watch you go through all of that to be at peace made me think like, okay, you know, if I leave this negative situation and I go through these trials, then one day I'll be at peace too. But if I stay,
you'll be just fighting within yourself, and hoping and wishing, and that hope and wish is not gonna come unless you make some changes. And I if I loved your dad, I love your dad, and I still love him. But I said if at that particular time that we were chaotic, we were chaotic, and that transferred on to even to y'all relationship. I didn't want y'all relationship, my own kids' relationship, to be chaotic. And I said, well, I don't want. I want us to always be a family. I always be your dad. Well, I will always be your mom, even if there's other people that come in there. But I didn't want at that time. I didn't want to. I didn't want to go to jail. I didn't want to go to jail, and I didn't want to die. And I said it was that to that point that we were going to hurt. We were hurting each other, and even if it didn't get to that point, to that physical point, mentally, we were hurting each other. Those little subtle things are even worse than anything else. The physical, the mental is, and maybe not the talking. You know, you're walking around in the same house, not speaking to each other. Come on, that ain't no love. And talking to each other like somebody off the street, somebody you don't care about, you don't love. You talk to them like that. You don't do that. Not in a relationship.
right?
You don't even do that to some of your friends. So, but you're gonna do that to the person that you're in the house with. So, yeah.
Yeah.
So, yeah, there's some things you have to. I mean, if you know, and you know within your heart and your mind that this is not working, it's not, and you try, and then you try, and you have tried. Try to talk it out. Try to make some change, and it's still doing the same thing. Then somebody's gonna have to step back,
Right.
and probably have to step out. And if you can work it out again, who knows? It may happen. But if just to separate each other for right now, and breathe. And it was hard. It was very hard. But I'm at a place of like peace. I do have a lot of joy within me. I wake up every morning and say thank you just to be awake. I take it day by day. I really listen to my mind. I really do listen to the words that are coming out my mouth. When I say I'm going to do something, I'm going to do it. I'm not just going to keep saying it and say and then procrastinate. I really do say, if I'm going to get up and do this, if I'm going to get up and do that, if I'm going to go here, I'm going to do it. I'm going to do it.
Yeah.
I don't hold myself back anymore like I used to. I used to hold myself back, even though I was going forward, but I was stepping back. I was pushing it. Oh, you doing this, and then you doing that. Oh, I was good on the outside, but inside I was broken. I was so broken. But I had to put those. The pieces were all over. It was a puzzle piece that was shattered, so I had to slowly put those pieces. And I had to give it some time, even though we want it quick and fast in a hurry. But it never. And when you get it that way, it falls apart sometimes. If you got it that way and it works, then that's good. But I would say take your time with it. Give yourself some room to breathe. You got to change.
Yeah. And as we come to a close, I think one thing that I'm working on going forward, I have a son, if you don't know that already, but granted, like I said at the beginning, you can definitely transfer things onto your son, but more or less the connection in terms of the womb, in terms of trauma, is through the daughter. So like, part of me really feels like this needed to happen before I had any more kids. One, I just never felt comfortable about having a second kid just because of how my life was set up, but also because I feel like this conversation needed to happen. Because even though I feel like I'll still be transferring things over to my future daughter, is not as heavy. I feel like we'll be able to catch it. It's like a virus. Being able to catch it ahead of time instead of down the line. And so this is good. That you were able to walk away from. You've experienced this trauma, but you've been able to get the help. Because then now we look at, what you left my dad when you were 30.
I was 40 years old.
So you was 40. Now I look at myself.
42.
42?
Was it 10 years? About 40. No, it was 42.
So it's
10 years.
Yeah, it was 42. You left my dad when I was 42. I left Jacob's dad when I was 25. You know what I'm saying? And then now, we're able to catch these things before it goes too far.
Right.
And even with BJ being 30, we're able to get the support and be able to heal before those things happen.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Anything you would want to tell somebody who is your age and may have went through similar traumas or close to the same, what would you want them to know in terms of for themselves and for helping their children?
I would say talk to your children. Just have some conversation, just like the same conversation you have with yourself. Allow yourself to give yourself time, and take it. Listen to the words that are deep within you, and act on them. And it's going to be hard in the beginning. Everything's hard in the beginning when you first take those baby steps. But if you keep trying and keep going, you'll somewhat succeed. It ain't always going to be pretty, but you're gonna at least see a change within you, and then you'll see it within your kids. Because you don't, even when they're older, you think they're just watching you when you're younger. They're watching your mom when she's older too. They're watching you. They're seeing what you do or how you react to certain things. So I'll just try to be open and talk. And if you don't want to talk, kind of just lead by your example and actions, and you'll be just fine.
Mm-hmm. And then anybody that may have been in my position or something similar, kind of work through this healing process. Hopefully you can be able to talk to your mom about her past experiences. One thing that I did that was really helpful for me and actually kind of got me to this place was the fact that I actually wrote down what my grandma went through. I wrote down what my mom went through, and then I wrote down what I went through to be able to connect some of that lineage on good and bad sides, but be able to connect where that intergenerational trauma is coming from so that you can be able to heal going forward. But talk to your mom, and if you're not able to talk to your mom, talk to somebody who you care about so that you can be able to connect. Were you going to say something?
Well, so you say talk to somebody you can trust.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you talk to somebody you can really trust that holds your business within them, not to the world. Mm-hmm. So you can really trust. Yeah.
Well, thank you guys for coming.
Thank you.
I think this is a very healing conversation.
Mm-hmm.
You're natural.
I
And
am natural.
Anyways, this is Enchanting Womenfestation, and be able to come back to our channel next week. So this is Enchanting Womenfestation. We will be doing a vlog every 2 weeks. So make sure that you subscribe so that you can be able to get a notification for that. Also subscribe and follow our Instagram page at Tella_Productions. It's also Tella.Productions on Facebook. And then we also have a Twitter account that is Tella Productions, but the N has a 1. Don't ask me. Twitter did it. But make sure that you're following along. Also, if you go to our website at Tella Productions, you'll be able to see all the vlogs that we have on there, and we'll be sending out a newsletter. So if you subscribe to that, then you'll be able to get our bi-weekly newsletter as well that goes with the video.